joining us for the first Black Latina Summit for 2021. My name is Crystal Roman, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you've never been a part of our summits, welcome. If you have, thank you for coming back. And at our summits, what we do is we discuss things that matter to us, that are important to our women in our communities. We discuss topics that we just feel we need to address. We are a theater and film production company in New York City. And so starting the summits was kind of like a call to action for us. Once COVID came about, obviously, we couldn't have anything in person. And so we decided to do summits. We didn't want to do Zooms, like there's a thousand Zooms going on that you could go to. But we just decided to have something that meant something to us and our women. And so we decided to do Black Latina Summits and address topics that are important in our community. So we've done a health topic, we've done beauty topics, we've done losing someone in COVID, remote learning, and what that means to us. And something that we wanted to put together that if, when this is over, we could continue to do this in person and it still means something to us. So, without further ado, this summit we're discussing women mompreneurs and what that world looks like for us, and also Black Latinas in fashion and what has that been, that journey for women of color in the fashion world. So I want to thank everyone for coming. As always, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you can put it in the chat room and we'll monitor it and see what you have to say. If you want to ask the women any questions, we'll do a Q&A at the end of it. And then we'll engage with you as much as possible. We'll give you all the women's information so you can follow them on all social medias and see all the amazing things they have going on. And we're gonna have fun today. I think it's a good way to start the new year. It's a new year, a lot of newness, a lot of greatness going on, and I want to just continue to propel that for us. So, without further ado, we are going to get into the world of mompreneurs. And for me, that's like a really important topic because I'm a mompreneur, and I know what it's like to want everything as a woman and want everything that you can gain as a woman, but not feel like you can, or feel the restrictions, or having to juggle it all because you have this responsibility to your children. And so, how that works for us, how does that feel for us? How can you still have your self actualization moment as a woman, but still have your responsibility as a mom and what that means to us? And that's a lot of work because you oftentimes, all of us have felt guilty about what we're doing. It's like, am I not doing enough? Am I doing too much? And what that feels, how does that feel to you? So I have some awesome moms that I wanted to share with you all. We have Ranada Shepard, a writer and producer for television. After being born and raised in the south side of Chicago, Ranada left her hometown to attend the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. She later found her passion for writing upon moving to Los Angeles, where she held many positions in the entertainment industry. While trying to get her foot in the door in the writers' rooms, Renata wrote a pilot while later evolving into TV One's series, Born Again Virgins. After her 2-season run on Born Again Virgins, Renata went to become the co-executive producer of Disney's Plus Diary of a Future President. Love that. She subsequently held the same role on NBC's comedy series, Connecting Currently. She's a showrunner, executive producer of HBO Max animated series, Young Love, based on the Oscar award-winning show, Hair Love. Thank you for joining us,
So
Renata.
happy to be here.
And then we have Miss Nick B, who is a Los Angeles based personal trainer and confidence coach. Nick B offers observers a presumptive group glimpse into her preferred method of impact, yet effective outdoor gymless, no excuse preferred training style. Her unabashed honesty, charisma, and unwavering dedication to living an active and healthy lifestyle is changing the lives of women all over the world. With her energetic, no nonsense approach, are the perfect remedies to fully accomplish their individualized fitness and lifestyle goal. Thank you for
Man.
joining us,
Yeah.
Nikki.
Thank you for having
Yay!
me.
So, ladies, so let's just jump right into it. So, obviously, you're moms. So, how many children you have? What are their ages? Either one of you, doesn't matter.
Well, I will go first. The reason I'm in this closet is because I have kids. This is where I do my meetings. This is where I know they can't burst in and interrupt me. So yes, I've been stuck in a closet since March. But I have a 20-year-old stepson who isn't living with me. He's living with his mom. And then I have a 15-year-old. He's a sophomore. He's here. He's enrolled in online school. And I have a 9-year-old son as well, who's pushing through this online school also. So, I mean, just keeping them motivated in all of this, keeping their minds right, realizing like, oh my God, like you haven't exercised. Can we go exercise? Like, can you get out the house? Can the sun see your face? But at the same time, making sure they don't become apathetic and like, why am I doing all this? Why am I working so hard? What's the point? We're not even going anywhere. It's just trying to figure all that out and succeed personally in my career. I mean, it is just one of these things that I often find it a gift and a curse. I mean, our lives slow down in a way that I have to say, I realized we were so overbooked. We were so overscheduled. We were seeing each other in passing. We were, all these different activities coming and going, rushing, not sitting down to eat. So there was a sense of like, oh my gosh, this feels like my childhood. Like we're actually sitting around spending time together, looking at each other. You all are actually saying I'm bored for the first time in your lives. But at the same time, it hits that wall where you're like, oh man, now it's a little too long. Like, how do I keep you going? So just always trying to find the balance, right? As a mom, also feeling guilty when I'm in this closet, feeling guilty when I close that door, when I walk past the 9-year-old and he goes, oh, you're working again? Okay, never mind. And I'm like, nah, tell me what it is. Cause that never mind right there. Nah, we're not going to do that. So, it's all of those things, those moving pieces of like trying to maintain all these relationships in your household 24/7 now for the first time. I wasn't responsible for some of their social growth, their developmental growth that happened outside the home. But now I'm 24/7 on work and kids and marriage, and I'm lunch lady, I'm hall monitor, I'm cafeteria lady, I'm front office, I'm the nurse. Like, I'm like, what is happening? But, trying to push through all that. That's this life.
Very true. How about you, Nick?
I'm struggling with Zoom, okay? Same here. I have a 15-year-old son. We're doing the virtual learning. It's just a lot. Like, it's a lot. You literally have to stop everything. Everything comes to a complete stop when your child is here 24/7. You typically get a break. And now my son is like, Mom, I want to go to school. I want to sit in the classroom. So that's when I knew, like, oh, things are really changing. And it's just, I mean, I feel like it's been easier to adjust to everything, but then again, it's hard too at the same time. So like Renata, is that how you put? Okay, I said it right. Just as what Renata is saying, like we got to find that balance. Like now you literally have to make time for everything. You have to schedule everything. So it's been a blessing and a curse. It definitely has been a blessing and a curse.
I feel like juggling and balancing like what's successful, what fails, what's good, what's bad. It's hard because there is no handbook to mothering. And then mothering in a pandemic, mothering in social injustice, mothering, and it's just you don't get a break. So I could totally relate to that. As far as like your specific fields, like Renata, how do you feel about as a writer keeping your juices flowing when you're pulled in so many different places it's like, how do you create a character? How do you create these ideas? How do you keep yourself fresh when you have, so much on your plate? And that's like a question that a lot of people always ask, like, how do you keep it going?
It's hard. Like, you really have to do a reset. There are times when I'm just feel like I'm in over my head because, like, I'm working on a show. My husband is a writer also. We have pilots together. We're developing, we're pitching. I mean, it's a constant machine that's going. And the moment, part of it is the partnership with him, because it's always good to have somebody who gets it and is like, wait a minute, slow down, like, this is what it is. But also for me, it's my relationship with God. It's me praying, it's me stopping, it's me going, I prayed for all this. So if this is being given to me, there is a way I can work through this, and I'm going to come through on this. Let me just stop, because what I realize is in those moments, I'm focusing on things that aren't real. I'm focusing on worries that aren't actualized. It's where the worst case scenarios I'm thinking. So you have to block all that out if you really want to create something. Like, if you really want to go deep and go good and have characters that people can relate to and stories that people want to see, you really have to shut it all out and really dig deep within yourself and believe in yourself. Like, that's the craziest thing about this. Just earlier this week, it was this story. I was like, I'm just not going to be able to break this story. Like, this is where it all collapses. This is where Ranada's career just like, psh, it's going away this week, people. And yesterday I cracked the story and I was like, I did it. It's always like the first time. Like, I don't care how far along you are, you still are just like second guessing yourself, because it's a talent from within, and it's a talent from digging deep within yourself and pulling it through. It's not putting some tools together that are tangible. It's really like, what can you manifest within yourself? And so, that's some other stuff when you're in the middle of this chaos. When I happened to be working on Diary of a Future President when we broke for this. Literally, it was a Thursday, and Alana was like, well, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Everybody's going to go home for 2 weeks. We're going to figure out this COVID thing and we'll be back. I mean, that's how naive we were about the situation. And we go home, and she was so great as a showrunner. She was like, I'm asking you guys to like make stuff and come up with funny stuff in a time that's not funny. There's nothing funny about what's going on. At that point we were watching New York. It was like, oh my God, what is going to happen to this world? Then you fast forward, George Floyd is happening. You're coming back from your weekend. How's everybody's weekend? You're like, what do you mean, how was my weekend? Like, did you not just see what happened? Like, do you not see what's going on in the world? I don't want to talk about my weekend. All right, does anybody have a funny joke? Not really. Nothing's funny right now. So just the support of her to say, look, I'm shutting the room down today. Like, everybody just needs a day. Or if you are going through something, or if this is too much for you, don't show up for work. No questions asked. Like, just don't show up when you're ready. And I hadn't really experienced that kind of support in a work environment before. So seeing that, I was like, oh, okay, like, you feel taken care of in a sense. You feel like, okay, well, we can get through this together. And it makes you want to collaborate and want to come back and really give of yourself. So now fast forward, here I am in Alana's seat on Young Love, and I'm like, the Capitol is being attacked, right? Like, what are we doing, people? Like, what's going on? Everybody just go home. Turn off your computers. I'll see you in a couple of days. Like, everybody needs a break. And so what I do think this brought about in this craziness is this sense of humanity, at least from the people that I've been working with. And I'm so thankful. And I hope that other people are working in this type of environment as well, that it isn't this sense of like, oh no, we're on the clock, we got days. No, like, what are we talking about? There's time. Now, if ever, do we need compassion for people? Do we need to care about people and make sure people are okay? And, noticing when people sometimes think they're okay and they're not okay. When you're in a group environment like this and you're on a Zoom, you've got to pick up on a different set of nuances and go, something's off. Like, let me just call that person and check in. Like, I noticed today, you weren't really engaged, or you seemed a little irritated, and checking in on things you possibly wouldn't check in on before, you know? So it's not only just the creating the characters, then it becomes the leadership role of it. Like, how do you lead in a time like this and get people to still want to come to work and have fun? So if you do it right, that's the Zoom is like my refuge. I'm like, I got to get on Zoom. Like, I can't deal with this house today. I got to go to work. Like, this is my escape. So it's tough, you know, it is tough in these times. But again, I think it's something we'll pull through. Another side of it is the execs are burnt out. The execs are terrified. You know, everybody's going through something. And that's what was so interesting to me about the beginning of COVID. For the first time and I had ever experienced in my life, because I have family who lives overseas in Madrid and stuff like that, like the whole world was going through the same thing. Like everybody was worried about toilet paper. Everybody was worried about meat. Like everybody was worried about catching this thing, right? Like suddenly we were all afraid together, and there was some comfort in that. And then suddenly when that George Floyd happened, when they murdered George Floyd, it was separate again. And it was like, oh, we're going through some stuff over here, and you're not going through that same thing. So it was a very weird time where it took this turn, and we really didn't come back. And we're not going to come back from that turn until, you know, the world is in a better place. But it was just interesting for that short amount of time. I could walk up to any person, and the subject was going to be, do you have toilet paper? Do you have Lysol? And then right when that happened, it was such a divide that it was just like, wow, this is really interesting to see.
Very true. Very true. And then, so that's like, as far as like the creativity of things, definitely I can 1,000% agree to that, because it's like, how can you produce, how can you create when there's so much going on, or happiness, or find like any good things in that? It's like the little things that the kids were doing now was like, you had more time to kind of pay attention to the smaller things. And those were the things that kind of kept you happy and going. But also too, I don't think we realized how it was going to impact us health-wise. And so like Nick, I think that that's a good, I guess my question to you was, how was maintaining your physical health, creating everything that you do now in a space like this? Because I eat, I'm a stressful eater. So I'm going to eat because I'm stressed out. Like this is stressing me out. And like, as a person who's a personal trainer who teaches people about these things, at the height of all of this, everybody's talking about it. Everybody put on pounds and packed on pounds because gyms were closed. And even if we could go outside and work out, it was just like, mentally, I'm not ready to do this, or my head is everywhere because of all these things going on. So packing that on, and then packing on being a mom and what your son is going through. You have a Black boy. What does that mean, and how he's coping? How did you, I guess, navigate that space as someone who the physicalness is so important, because it is part of what you do?
Well, for me, it's actually the physical is not as important as it looks on social media. For me, it's about mindset. I don't focus on the physical or how you look. I focus on the feeling. It's all about how you feel inside. And I tell people too, stop putting so much pressure on yourself to be this, to look a certain way or to be a certain way. I feel like God gave us that time, that period of 2020, that was a period of transitioning and sitting still and enjoying those moments and embracing where you are. Like, we got to be thankful we got a roof over our head. We got to be thankful that we have food in our kitchen that we can actually sit and enjoy. There's a lot of times when I'm moving around, I can't even enjoy my meals. I wasn't thinking about, oh, I gained 10 pounds this week. I was like, shit, I look good. Like, I feel good, you know? I feel amazing. I feel amazing. And just, with my son too, it wasn't hard for me to get adjusted to this new, because I was doing that already. I was teaching people how to work out at home and showing people that you didn't need a gym to be active and fit, and you don't need an hour to work out. just do 20 minutes of something. You can watch a commercial and do some squats, you know? So I don't know. We all go through phases. Our body go through phases, and we just have to embrace and love ourselves for who we are and what we look like. You know, if you want to do the work, you're going to do the work, but it's in the mindset. It's where you're at today. How you feeling today? You know, that's my first thing that I say to my clients. Not as soon as they walk through my backyard, I'm like, hey, how you feeling? You feeling good? If not, we're gonna punch this bag. We got to get that off. We got to get that off, and that's my method with it. It's a feel good. It's a feeling. It's not about the physical.
I love that. I love that. What do you think is like some of the biggest don'ts that working moms do that they shouldn't, or that they put on themselves?
Like you said in the beginning, there's no rules or instructions when it comes to being a parent. You know, like we're learning this every second. Like there's things that I've done in 2020 that I wouldn't do today. My teachings are not the same. You know, I'm more patient with my son now. There's a lot of there's more peace in the house, you know, because he knows, oh, she's on her Zoom call. Let me go do my thing. Let me be quiet. You know, like we have an understanding. We're talking more. My son said something to me the other day too that really resonated with my spirit and made me want to cook more too. He was like, you know, I want a woman that's more submissive, you know, mom, like I want to be the one that's a provider, and when I come home my meals are cooked. And I totally understand him, because as a working mom, you're constantly working, you're moving. So my thing is, I'm FaceTiming, hey, you want food while I'm out, or I can Uber eat you because I'm on the go. But it made me slow down and say, you know what, my son like cooked meals. Let me start cooking more. And so every day I've been cooking, you know, and the food has been amazing. I'm like, ooh, I didn't put my soul into that. Now that was good, you know. But and I can cook. I just don't cook because I'm constantly working. So I've learned so much during the pandemic. Yeah, granted, you know, despite all that has happened, you know, and all the lives that were taken during that year, I'm just grateful. And I'm just glad to be present and be here and to be on this Zoom call with all you beautiful ladies. And that's just my intake on that.
No, it's true. It's true. And like Ranada said earlier, like I think the pandemic made us slow down. So even as moms, we had no choice but to slow down because these kids was home. And so it was like, what are we going to do? Like we have to kind of make it work and find different, you know, things that work. Like what worked for you might not work for me, will work for me. And so how do we make that work still? Because on top of already juggling our lives as moms, now we have to juggle the pandemic and remote learning. And it's like, I don't know how to teach a fifth grader. Like I give credit to all the teachers because it's like, I don't know half of the stuff. I'm looking at it like, did they teach me this in fifth grade? Because I don't remember it. And it was a lot. Ranada, what do you think are like some best practices for working moms, mompreneurs that really are starting their businesses or have their business? What are things that you feel like you've learned, that you've mastered, and you could pass that on like advice to other women?
I think first and foremost, if you aren't planning and organized in anything that you're doing, you're setting yourself up to fail. Like you just have to really take that first step of planning it out and being organized, because that allows for the missteps that are going to happen, and you still have a path to, you still have it all laid out. You know what's expected by the end of the day, the end of the week, you know what your plan is, and anything around that you can shift and move pieces. But if you're flying by the seat of your pants and stuff is happening, you start going down roads that are unnecessary and forget the task at hand, forget what the goal was, forget where you were heading. So no matter what field, no matter what it is, I would say the planning and organizing. But what we also don't realize about that, that's self-care. Because when you do that, that is really for you. And I find, you know, the hardest thing is self-care for women. Like we for the most part have probably watched women neglect themselves that were raising us, and without even it being said, through osmosis, through like watching and learning, we then learn how to take the lead, parent, and neglect until suddenly you wake up and you're like, I don't want to treat myself like this anymore. Like, I don't want to feel this. But it takes a lot of searching to get there. And it takes a lot of hitting that wall to get there, you know? So I just really think that part, planning, organizing, I think believing in yourself. You know, there are a lot of rooms that I walked into that the idea and the foundation of that room was for me not to believe in myself, was for me to walk in there and feel defeated, for me to walk in there and go, this isn't for me. And really getting that sense of knowing your purpose, or saying, I don't have all the answers, but I know this is what I want to do. And I'm going to push through. This is hard. This is scary. You know, having that faith to go, I'm just going to have to go through it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be scary, but you know what? I'm going to go, because that is what gets you to that next spot. It's so funny in this town how you see somebody who was an assistant last year and now they're an exec this year, you know, or they have their own show the next year. This isn't mapped out the way people think it is. You know, when you're down there at that assistant level, you feel like it'll never happen. And those little steps turn into big leaps. The same way I'm sure Nick can tell you working out, right? That 20 minutes every day, then suddenly you're a month in and you're like, whoa, what happened? Because it was those 20 minutes. It was those little steps when you kept pushing through that it felt hard. You know, you thought, oh my gosh, it'll never change. And then you look up and you're there, you know? And then once you get there, it's so funny. You envision this thing of like, if I just get this, I'm gonna be so happy. And then you get this, and it's a mind trip because that was never gonna make you happy. So then you have to go digging within again and finding that sense of happiness and who am I? And if all this was taken away, how do I still find joy, love myself, right? And then get to places where, you know, sometimes we get where we prayed for, and you're looking around and you're like, oh my God, okay, I really got here. Should I be here? Then that's when the self-doubt starts to come in, right? Like, you prayed for, you got it. Now you want to second guess yourself. Now is not the time for that. Nobody has time for that. Like, you have to continue to believe in yourself when nobody else believes. And the way you can wholeheartedly believe in yourself, and it's not just a facade or a front, is to do the work. If you do the work, nobody can ever take that away from you. If you do the work and you have that skill set, somebody could say, oh, Ranada doesn't deserve to be there, but you can't take my writing skills away. You can't take the skill set, that my toolbox that I've been building over the years to get here, you know? So really having a good foundation, and it not just being a gimmick, because gimmicks will fall apart. You'll get to where you want to be because sometimes you can will that. Like, people have a power to will things into existence. But when you get there, you want to be great. You want to survive. You don't want to get there and fall apart. So it's a lot of steps along the way, but I always say, you know, your faith, believing in yourself, staying organized, loving yourself. If you don't love yourself through this process, through any process of building something, it's going to be a rough road, because things are going to come against you, because they're supposed to come against you. These are the things that make you stronger. You know, this isn't, oh, the victimization of one person. This is supposed to happen. And this is what you're supposed to overcome to get to that next step. So if any of that makes sense, I hope it does.
No,
In my mind, it does.
it does. And it's a lot of, like, it's also, like you said, it's a lot of building. There's definitely failure in it when you're starting a business and you're trying to create your brand and what you're doing. And then it's like, you got to kind of figure out what works for you and what doesn't, because not everything that works for you in the beginning of being a mom in your career doesn't work now later on. You have to tweak it and make certain changes. What do you feel like were certain changes that you had to make, that you, when you wasn't a mom and you had your career, but then when you became a mom, what were changes that you felt like you had to drastically change that you didn't have to when it was just you?
Well, you know, what's funny? My 15-year-old and my 9-year-old got two different versions of me. My 15-year-old got, oh my gosh, I'm a new mom. My life is just about you. I'm going to give you 1,000% of me until I have nothing left. And then that did not work. My 15-year-old I didn't go back to work until he was 2, right? Like it was just me and him for 2 years. My 9-year-old, 3 months. I was like, bye. It's been good. I learned the hard way on that first one. We were way too attached. That kid to this day, if he goes, I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? Because we were so connected. And I thought that was what I had to do to prove that I was going to be this great mother. And my 9-year-old, have such a different dynamic, right? Like we love each other, but we're not codependent the way the 15-year-old and I are. So it's a difference that way. Like it's a difference also. I will say with the 15-year-old, it was easier to pour into parenting than it was to pour into me. Like, I was like, oh no, I'll just keep being a mom. This is easy. Like, and I remember at one point, even after the 9-year-old, I was like, okay, my career hasn't taken off yet. Maybe I should just have another baby. And my husband and I had to have a real conversation. And the truth was, I was scared. I was scared to lean into me. So it would be easy to have another distraction and have another baby and go, I can't do it. I got the kids. Like, I'm just too busy. That was something I really had to check myself on and go, no, it's time to do it. Like you keep talking about it. You keep complaining about it. You keep crying about it. You keep praying about it. So when will you do it? And so the difference is with the 9-year-old, he was 3 years old when I left for Atlanta to shoot Born Again Version. I would have never done that with the oldest. Like I left for 6 months and was like, all right, I got to go shoot a show. I got this opportunity. And that was blowing my mind. Like, wow, I'm really doing this. And I think once I just got that taste of like, feeling rooted in something that wasn't somebody else, wasn't my kids, wasn't my husband, wasn't my marriage, wasn't my friendships. It was just in me and my skill set and my ability. It was almost like, forget it now. Like, I'm not going back to that. Like, this feels too good. This tastes too good. Like, now let's see where we can go with it. Now, I will say it's a lot easier to go to an office and work and feel like I shouldn't be involved at that point of their day because I am at work. When you're working in your house, it's harder to separate the two. It's harder to close the door and go, that out there isn't for me because I'm at work. It just, I still hear, I still feel, I still see a space and I'm like, what happened? You didn't do good? Talk to me. I'm putting the Zoom on pause. Keep talking, guys. I'll be back. And I'm trying to do it all. And I have to stop myself from that. To me, that's the hardest part of seeing them here all day long, finding that balance. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I have that figured out. I don't think I have the answer for it. I think it's day to day. Some days I'm killing it. I'm good. Other days I'm like, this is a 24/7 job between writing, being married. Like, this is insane. I literally drove to Chicago to go get my mother and drove her back just so she could cook meals because Nick, these kids like home cooked meals too. And I was like, I can't do it all. So every day I am a showrunner, a wife, and a mother and a daughter. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to close the door and just like take a bath and like figure this out because I need a break from all of it, you know? And I think we say the balance. The hardest thing is actually figuring that out. Like I said, I don't have it. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. One of these days I'm going to figure it out. But I mean, that's the crazy part. These two kids got two different versions of me. And now where I am in this pandemic, they're getting yet another version of me. And, you know, I just hope that it works out in the end. Like, I hope that, you know, that I've done my job by these kids. You know, those are the thoughts that get me up at 3 a.m. and I'm standing over their beds praying over them like, God, whatever I missed, fill in the gap, please, you know. And that's all I can do. I leave it at that. I'm like, I prayed for you and I was here for you. Yeah. You know,
no, I can totally agree because I have two too. And I'm a single mom. So it's a little more, it's a little different challenge. I won't say it's more, but it's a different challenge. And it's like they get different versions of you because you're at different places in your life. As a woman, you've grown and you've learned and you saw what didn't work and what did work. And I think a lot of the times we don't forgive ourselves for that. So we're constantly on ourselves like, damn, I should have did that differently, or what I could have did differently. And then you also get to the place that you don't care anymore. It's like I told you guys last night, like Italy cuisine, I'm writing, or I'm on a Zoom, or I need to, it's like, I cannot. And then you get into that mood where you do forgive yourself. And it's like, I want to cook the most banging meal I could possibly make. But I think it takes time for us to get to that. And I see a lot of young moms who are entrepreneurs who are trying to make it all work and be the best at everything. I'm going to be the best wife. I'm going to be the best sister. I'm going to be the best friend. I'm going to be the best writer. I'm going to go to the gym and work out 5 hours a day. And it's like, you're not being the best to you, because at the end of the day, you're not forgiving yourself for where you might have fell off or you lacked off. And there's definitely a level of forgiveness that I know as a mom I've had to give myself, because there's only 24 hours in a day. You can't get it all right. So I can definitely agree with that. Nick, what do you think changed for you from when you had before working, and then when you had your son, what changed?
So my story is very similar to Renata's. I had my son at 20 years old. I breastfed for 2 years. So I didn't go back to another job until I was probably 23. Did a little work for the government for about 2 months, and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. And started going to the gym, got certified. I was like, oh, I could sell something. But my son had attachment issues. So when he started school, he would cry a lot because he was so used to being around me. And it took a while for him to break out of that. But yeah, definitely wouldn't be doing that with my second child. I'm going to be moving a lot differently. Yeah, but it does kind of like pour into who they are today, because my son he has only child syndrome. So he requires a lot of attention and a lot of affection. So if I'm like, yo, I need a minute, just let me be, he gets kind of offended. And it's like, it's nothing personal. I just need my time. So that's where I'm at with it. We're trying to figure it out, but we're growing together. I can honestly say that the parent I was in my 20s is definitely not the parent I am in my 30s. I'm not playing this year or any year after that.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Do you feel like in your career, being a mom, you receive different treatment than other people in your career, in your field?
No.
No.
No. I think it's the same. I think people, as far as my clients though, I think they respect me a lot more because I am a parent. So they're like, oh, she must know what she's talking about. She got a kid, you know? So, and I'm not just a parent, but I honestly think that I am a good mom, you know, like, I'm learning every day, every single day. It's something new, it's something different. You know, like Ranada was saying, it's a balance, but some days are better than others. And that's the honest truth. And then to piggyback off of what Renata said too, as far as you got to do the work. It's not always the hard labor work. It's also having faith, being patient, trusting in God. Like that's work. Because some days you're like, well, shit, when you gonna come through, God? Like I need you. Like, you know, like that's important. I know for me, I used to be very impatient. Like I wanted things done now. I'm so impatient. I can't even go into a store and they're like, oh, we'll just send it to you. No, if I'm giving you my money right now, I want my purchase right to leave with me. I don't want it to be shipped. But I had to learn, you know what, you need to work on your patience. And that takes a lot of work. So just piggybacking off of the doing the work too. Like it's just not always the hard labor stuff. It's also that the having faith, believing, trusting.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there's like different treatment for, I mean, obviously we know in all fields, there's different treatment of black and brown moms than white moms. But have you ever experienced that, ladies, where you felt different? You were treated differently as a mom as opposed to the other moms in a different who were white?
No.
No, okay.
I don't think I saw it in my career. I see it as schools.
Yeah.
You know, so I start to have real conversations with my parents. Like I have tutors that are really close with us. Like my oldest, his second grade teacher has been our tutor in our family, and just having those conversations of when she worked at predominantly white schools and having the conversations of how white moms advocate for their kids in the sense of like when a test is failed, that child goes back up there and that means the teacher failed this child and you need to allow my child to take this test back again, and you need to make sure that they do well because this is your job. And I didn't grow up with that perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have been in trouble if I failed the test, not the teacher. So just being able to have those kind of conversations with people and learning the privilege of the world and applying that to my kids and understanding of asking questions and advocating for them in a different way. I've learned that more through teachers and interactions with other parents at school, per se, that when you do then take on that entitlement, it is a very unexpected and you are met with microaggressions where they did not expect you to come in there and advocate for your child that way. You know, even something as simple as standardized testing. Why are you tracking my kid like that? It's not, we don't need that. Like that is not a law. That is not necessary. And the schools get so mad at me because I say, no, he's not going to be here these days. He doesn't do standardized testing, but enjoy. And for you and the other kids, enjoy, because that is nothing for any benefit for my child. That is actually for you to track your standards, to track your money for your school. And so understanding that kind of situation, understanding that the school system may just give them a bare minimum, and I want them to be more analytical. I want them to look at situations and answer questions differently so that it isn't just a baseline education that they're getting, that I'm pushing them further in their thinking. And ultimately what it led to was, I don't know if you guys know, but a couple of years ago we had a gas leak, and Southern California gas leak, we all had to evacuate. And the school my kids were at wouldn't shut down. And like the next block over, people were evacuating out of their home. And I'm like, so they're leaving their homes, but you're keeping the school open, which meant ultimately they didn't want to lose money. They didn't want to lose enrollment. We took our tutor, who was a Black woman, Miss Queenie, and we hired her, and it was about 6 different Black families. And she basically came to a house and homeschooled for 6 weeks. So we were kind of in the process of this before a pandemic hit, right?
Yeah.
And Miss Queenie taught these kids, and it was the first time my kids had been in an all Black environment. And ultimately my son just like loved it so much, asked her, could she start Black school? And so what she has done is she started Black school, and you guys can find it online, and it is literally an outside program that Miss Queenie runs along with the founding children of this program. My son is one of them. And really it teaches them who they are. You know, my kids learned they were kings and queens before they were slaves. My kids learned what they're really rooted in, who they really are. Last week, they literally had a vision board session. They all got on Zoom and they did their vision boards, understanding the power of their visions. Usually for Black History Month, we'll get together and have a big dinner that's rooted in African culture. So just those extra steps and understanding the power and understanding who we are. And if I don't take that step, my child will never walk around with that pride. So it really is just learning from conversations how white women advocate for their children in such a way, because every white man you see walking around this earth who's entitled had a white mother that made him feel that way. And so understanding that I need to advocate for these Black boys and teach them their power and teach them who they are. And then how do we do that and push them forward and create something for them? So that's what we're doing over here. And Nick, I can send you the information for your son.
I would love that. I do the same thing with my child too. They started doing meditation at his school, and he was like, "Oh, my mom teaches me that. We do meditation and affirmation, and we've been doing that for years." And they were like, "Oh my gosh, well, Corey, you can lead a class." So he started doing that at school. But that is so important. And you just brought up a great subject as far as how these other the others instill this entitlement in their children. Well, I always tell my son that he's a king and that he should speak that over himself. You speak that power into your soul and you will walk and talk that way. You are a leader. Lead the pack, and he's the oldest one in his crew. And I told them, I was like, you know what, if you guys create this amazing team of young Black men, I'll purchase your LLC and we can start a business. So he gets on the phone and he's like, my mom said if we do this and we do that, she's gonna purchase this. So let's do it. So they're like on the phone having Zoom meetings too. So I love that.
And that's important too, because think about it, like, where are they gonna, granted they learn it from their fathers, right? But I feel like as the queens of the situation, we have a double role, right? Because we also have to teach them what a woman looks like. Because if we don't show them what a woman looks like, then they're gonna go into these toxic relationships that we see tons of men get into. And it's like, what made you go with this woman? Why did you pick her? And it may still happen, right? God forbid, it could still potentially happen with everything we have to offer. But if we offer our best selves to them, it would be shameful for them to go the opposite direction. Because it's like, I showed you what it was. I gave you, the foundation to pick somebody that was, if not like me, better than me. And I think, we all have boys, so we all can attest to that. It's like, they will come to the house with shame. Like, I'm bringing this girl to my mama and she ain't even up to par. And it's like, but that's because we're setting the bar so high for them, as we should, because they're already coming in a world where it's against them. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation until things completely change. And it's taking years and years, and we're getting there, but it's not completely changed. And so we have a lot of work to do in like you said, affirmations and reaffirming who they are and saying, okay, why you feel this way? Or what did you think about this? And I understand that. Like, I don't let my kids watch too much television because it's just too much. But then there's times we'll watch a little bit of the news and it's like, well, what did you feel about that? Or what did you think we could have did differently? Or how did that make you feel? And so it is important for them to know who they are. And when they see mommy's work, they always know, oh, my mommy did that. Or my mommy does that. I love it when, my oldest is in school and he's 17 and he's like, oh, I know I'm Black. You know what I mean? I'm light skinned and I know I'm part Puerto Rican, but I'm Black, and it's like, yeah, he's understanding that, or understanding what light skin privilege is, or understanding his role as a Black man and not trying to pass as anything else and whatever that means. And so, it's, we are the curators of the culture. Definitely. I always say that, like, we created this. This is us. And so I'm always, that's always my driving thing. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? How are we doing it? I think I stepped back when I realized that I needed to be in service. And so, like, this is the service. And it wasn't about all this other stuff that I wanted to do. It was about the service and the work. So you ladies are definitely putting in that work, putting in that service, really letting the next generation know what they need to do, and that they have huge shoes to fill, because you've created that for them to know and see that. So as we wrap up this section, what do you want other moms to take from what you've done, what you've learned, the rights, the wrongs, the good, the bads? What do you want women to take from that? What are takeaways or best practices or advice?
My biggest one is embrace the mistakes. Holding ourselves up to this bar does us such a disservice, and just brings on so much guilt, so much shame that is so unnecessary. that you just see, like, fathers don't walk with the same amount, holding themselves to such a bar. Like, I want to be able to make mistakes. And the greatest gift I can teach my kids is to make mistakes and learn from them. So embrace the mistakes, live in the moment, and enjoy the ride.
That I'm gonna have to agree with you 100%. 100%.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true. We don't get the pass. Men always get the pass. It's like, oh, he made the mistake. It's like we never get that pass.
Yep.
And we don't allow each other to have it. And I think that's probably, for me, what I would want people to take away from this. Like, I don't want to judge Nick. I don't want to judge Ranada. I'm not here to judge you. Like, if I'm a woman in the community with you, I should upbuild you. Why am I talking about you?
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. But everyone don't think like you. So everyone don't think that way. We gotta be real sometimes.
I know.
Now,
I know they don't.
With some hate and some envy and
It's true.
Ooh, she thinks she all that. And it's like,
and it's like we want to be like Michelle when she says, when they go low, we go high, but it's like sometimes I want to go lower.
Yeah. Let's be real. Let's be real now. Yeah.
It's true. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go high. I want to go lower.
I want to be petty too.
It's true. It's true.
We all have our moments, we are all learning. Like we said, this life comes with no instructions. You just got to keep living. You got to keep doing what makes you happy, what keeps you vibrant. And distractions, I look at that like, oh, okay, that's the demon, or that's the devil trying me. I'm not even going to engage in that. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Okay. I've learned how to start checking myself too on things. Being a parent, being a person in general, I'm just embracing it all. And I'm loving the woman that I'm becoming. I'm so much better than the woman I was before. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I used to go toe to toe with people in my comments, and it started taking a toll on me when I would meet people in public or do events or workout events, and all of the girls be like, "Oh, I love you so much, girl. You just be cussing people out in them comments." And I'm like, that's not cool. Like, I don't want to be known for that. I don't want to be known for cussing nobody out. So now I just, when people try me, it's like, you know what? That's a projection. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Like how you feeling, how you thinking. I'm not even thinking like that. I'm out here trying to spread love, positivity. You on some negative stuff. Now we can block, restrict. Like, we have control now. And we have to start using our power and start walking and stepping and talking and being in our power. And that's what I'm about all 2021 and for the rest of my life.
It's true. It's true. Well, ladies, I want to thank you for being so awesome, being so great. I will share all of your information on the video once we post it. Thank you so very much. If there's anything you want to say when we close out, or what you're working on next, or what you're doing, please say that now.
Well, I just want to thank you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to thank you too, but I actually wanted to hear Angela and Sandra and Miss Shirley that are on here listening. Like, if they had questions or anything, I'm sorry.
For sure. Like, no one wrote in the chat box, so I was like, hey, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But if you ladies have anything to ask the women, go for it.
I don't have anything I want to ask, but I do want to commend all the mompreneurs, because I'm not a mom myself. But Crystal, I think that you're awesome, and I'm always like, praising how you find a way to balance personal, business, and your motherhood, and you do an outstanding job. So it was really interesting to hear the perspectives of all the panelists. And I always shout out moms, because I think it's amazing that you can like hold down a full-time job or do all of your things that you do, and then still try to, find time to be a good mom, or just, a present mom. And it's something that I definitely appreciate as a viewer or spectator, so to speak. So yeah, so just kudos all around to all you ladies and all the mompreneurs in the world, because I don't even think I could do that. I'm like, I'm like dead tired after a day of work, and I love me some naps, and so I praise y'all. I praise y'all.
What is a
I'm
nap?
gonna take a nap when we get off of here.
So definitely kudos to all you ladies. You guys are all amazing, and look forward to seeing more of all of what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think it's amazing. I mean, I'm not a mom yet, but I have friends that are moms. I have brothers that have kids, and just the past few months, man, like I just hearing their stories and how they're just adapting day to day, and dealing with, you guys didn't touch too much upon it, but like how much COVID outside of being a parent has affected us mentally, and it's taken a toll on a lot of families, you know what I mean? And from, issues at the home, different dynamics, you're home more with your loved ones than you ever were before. And it's great to hear, kind of like positiveness, like you're growing closer with your children, you're adapting, but I know of situations where that's not the case, and they're still trying to figure that out. But, I just feel like there's no guidebook to this, especially surviving a pandemic, right? How to do anything during this time. And, I appreciate you both for being so candid with your experience and just kind of just taking it day by day, because there isn't a script to, motherhood, a surviving business during this time. So thank you both for sharing your experience.
Well,
Thank you, Angela.
It's interesting that you say that. I remember early on, my husband and I got into it because look, we're all stuck in the house, right? And I realized in that moment, I don't know if you guys felt this, Crystal and Nick, but I remember when I used to get mad when I was pregnant, I realized I couldn't get mad because the time it took me to come back down, you learn your hormones and you're like, I can't go there because I can't come back down. And I equated like this whole quarantine to that. Like, I can't get mad because I'm going to shift the energy of the whole house. Like, if we get into it, silence is loud when you're stuck in quarantine. Like, we're walking around, we're not speaking to each other. Those kids are going to feel it in such a different way. Besides what they're already going through themselves, their fear, their anxiety, their disconnect from their friends and all that. And then if we're mad, just forget it. Like, you've just blown this whole thing, this safe space for them. So we made a pact early on, like, we can't do that. Like, we got to talk through everything, or we definitely can't do it in the house. So one time he left to the store and I was like, let me FaceTime you real quick, because I don't like the way you did that, this, that, and the other. Like, let's have this, like, because that energy is heavy. And then on top of that, dealing with my son, like falling out with friends during the pandemic, and now feeling like I can't even go to school where I can go meet a new friend or make a new friend. I'm just stuck with no friends, or having FOMO, looking online for kids whose parents aren't taking this as serious. And now they're out there hanging out. And he's like, I'm stuck in the house. Nobody even called me and asked me, even if I was going to say no, because you won't let me. Like, all of that's coming up. He's now in therapy every Thursday on Zoom. Like, we don't play with it because, one, it's too much for me to take on. I'm not equipped. Like, I'm at my max, but I need you to have your own space where you vent and you get it out, and she can handle it. So he doesn't miss his therapy appointments. We do not play with it. So, when you said that, Angela, just so all transparency over here, it's not easy. There are some rough days, but we're just trying to manage.
I just want to commend you for that. I'm sorry, but
No, go ahead,
I want to commend you, Ranada, for, even your son being so young and you allowing him to go to therapy and talk to a therapist, because in the Black culture, that is like, oh no, I'm not crazy. I don't need to go see a therapist. And it's like, you are a sick person. You need to go talk to somebody. Like, but seriously, it's good for healing and it's good to release that. So that's amazing. Girl, I commend you for that. That's beautiful.
And it's a lot of trauma too. Like
yeah,
the George Floyd situation, it's trauma. And I think we internalize a lot of it, and we do not realize the toll that it takes on us, because also being home, we got inundated with so much media because we're home. You know, when you're outside working, you miss a lot of things. There's a lot of times I'm on my feed and I'm like, I didn't see that. And my girlfriend would be like, you didn't see what I posted? And I'm like, no. But with us being home, we really was able, like, the world got to watch everything over and over. And even as moms, I don't think we realize what that did to us.
Yeah.
For me, like, there was one day my oldest was throwing out the garbage, and we live in a duplex, but he was on the second floor. So he went downstairs to go throw out the garbage. And I was in the kitchen just cleaning up because he had threw out the garbage. And in 2 seconds, I felt this feeling that I had never in my life. It was like the most scariest moment in my life. I flew down those stairs and I was like, Matthew, I'm calling him. And I didn't realize that I had like PTSD from watching all the damn videos. I had realized for 1 second, I thought he was dead. I thought something had happened because I heard sirens, but I live in New York. Sirens is like every 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure you heard a couple of times I'm here already. But when I heard the sirens, it just triggered me differently. And I ran down those steps and I was screaming his name, and he's literally like, I'm putting out the garbage, and I was talking to a neighbor. But because I had experienced so much from watching all of this during the pandemic firsthand, I didn't even realize as a mom that I'm like, all right, maybe I need to go to therapy, because this just really affected me in a way that I didn't think it would affect me. Like, I never watch any of the videos just because I cannot. It's very hard for me because I'm a mom. And every time I see somebody, I always think about my own kid. So it's very difficult for me to watch, whether it was Trayvon, whether whoever, I can't. And it's not because I don't believe it. It's not because I'm afraid of it. It's because I myself as a mom cannot digest that footage. And so I wound up having to watch it because it was everywhere. But again, it literally affected me. So I know, like, it's not always, Angela, it has not always been good being home with them, because now I'm super, like, afraid. I'm super
me too.
You can't go to the store. I don't want you going over here. I don't want you doing this. Because now it's like it's been bombarding us more heavier than it has before.
Well, Crystal.
Yeah, but,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
you got it.
I was just, Crystal, it's so interesting that you say that, because I think for most of us, watching George Floyd over and over again is watching a public lynching over and over again. And that damages our souls in more ways than we speak about. We internalize it. So I'm sure it was traumatic. Like, now if I hear somebody else got, and we're going to show it, I just turn away. I don't need to see it. I can hear, even if I have to hear it, but not to see it. But to the other two ladies, I too am not a mom. But I just admired your courage and honesty on what you spoke about. And in terms of raising young Black kings and queens and who they are. And, Ranada, I loved Embrace the Mistake. I think that's amazing. That was the thing that I took away. And in terms of talking about your children being entitled, I tell everybody I grew up entitled because I had a Panamanian mother and a Jamaican father. And if you want to know arrogance, is have a Jamaican man. And so I walked around entitled. And, when you talked about being in school, about, what your kids are learning, I remember coming home from Catholic school and telling my dad, my proud Jamaican father, that I learned that Marcus Garvey was a racist. And immediately, oh no, the 7 national heroes of Jamaica, and I had to start learning about that and who they were. And so the fact that there is something called Black School, I wrote it down. I'm a children's author, and I loved just listening into the two of you on what is going on and how to be and how to do. And, talking about, Nick and talking about, not every day you can be nutritious. I'm like, my sister
I want some cake today.
I was like, especially today, my nephew and niece, when they were younger, they called me Aunt Tia Sandra because they would get so confused, and so I called them the babies, and the two of them just graduated college in the spring. And because of COVID, I couldn't go. And I've been, I spend my Christmases since they were babies. I've spent with them. They're in Atlanta. I'm in Boston. And, I was getting ready. I bought had a hazmat suit, my mask for the plane, and my mask, I got the shield and everything. And as a family, they called and we realized I could not get on a plane, because I have rheumatoid arthritis and I'm immune compromised. And so I just sent them there. I always bake when I'm leaving for Christmas. So yes, just in case you all ever want to do this, you can get the game size priority box, put ice packs in it. And I baked and I sent it to Atlanta. And before this call, they called to say it had arrived. And I was like, thank you, so I get to still have that aunt connection. So my sister was teasing me, Nick, that she just broke her toe and we have the Fitbit, and I never beat her in my steps. But last week I said, I beat you. And she's like, I have a broken toe. So thank you all for your blessings, your wisdom, and I really enjoyed it. So
oh, thank you for your story. That was amazing. That's so beautiful.
That's so awesome. And I'm glad that you can stay connected the best way you can, because that's all we can do, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. I really appreciated it. Let's continue to do what we're doing. Let's continue to move forward. Let's continue to support each other. It may not always be easy. It might not always be great, but as long as we continue to create that network of moms where we could be like, hey, Nick, I'm not feeling good today. Tell me something. Or Ranada, you hit me up. I think that's what's important too, like having that support system as moms, as working moms, and moving forward from there.
Yes.
I love that. Girl, I might be, girl, I ain't feeling it either. I ain't gonna lie to you now. I'm like, girl.
But you know what? I love, like Ranada said, embracing the mistakes, and then just embracing those moments where it's like, girl, I ain't doing it today. That's it.
Yeah, not today. Boundaries.
Well, now we're gonna go into Miss Angela Arias. We are gonna go into the Black Latinas in fashion. One thing I will say is we were going to have Christina Mendez. Christina got really sick, and for her health and everything else that's going on, we know that once you get sick, it's just good to just rest. We don't want you to overwork yourself, just in case it gets crazy or it gets severe. So we send our love, light, and blessings to Christina and hope that the next time we can do this again with her. But we do have Angela Arias of Ariance Jewelry. We're gonna talk about Black Latinas in fashion. And it's an important space because we don't get to see a lot that look like us in fashion, especially behind the scenes in fashion in regards to designers. We don't, when you think of especially jewelry designers, you don't think of someone that looks like you and that looks like me. It's predominantly white, and that's obviously done for a reason. And so to me, I love the fact that you're into jewelry. Fun fact, I went to a vocational jewelry high school in New York, the High School of Fashion Industries. And I graduated with my vocational diploma in jewelry design. And then when I went to college, I was like, I want to run a business. And so I went to college to get a business degree. And then I fell in love with writing and acting. And then my life went in a whole different place. But I have always had an affection for fashion, and this part of the arts, right? You can't get on a red carpet unless you got a nice fit and some jewelry. So it's really important, your job and what you do, and someone that looks like you, and a woman, and a young Black woman. And so I really wanted to bring you on and to talk about it. How long have you been doing your business? How long have you been interested in fashion, and how long have you made it your business?
So unlike you, right? I'm a clinical social worker during the day. So I got my master's in social worker, nothing to do with jewelry design at all. But I was always one of those people since my early 20s that every time I went out, I would buy jewelry to match my outfits, right? And I was a big Express, had the best jewelry, H&M, and I would spend so much money on jewelry, big pieces, wear them once, and then they will just turn dark on me. And then I got tired of spending so much money in jewelry. So Ariance jewelry is only 2 years old, right? I initially started making jewelry for myself because I started to get an allergic reaction to a lot of the jewelry I was buying, and I couldn't understand why, right? And then I started doing research, and I'm like, oh, nickel, that is terrible for jewelry, but it's so cheap to use, which is why so many vendors and distributors use it for their jewelry. So I remember one day I was wearing this piece. One day I wore it and my entire neck broke out. And I was like, I cannot wear anything unless I know exactly where it's coming from. And I was like, oh, if I make it. And then I was just like, you know what? Let me take a little jewelry class. I took a little jewelry course on like engraving, learning the differences about the different metals that are used for jewelry. And then I started making jewelry for myself and my friends. And, my friends are my biggest supporters. And they were just like, why don't you just, put a little pieces out for the public? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Full-time career, no time for a business. Ariance was born, and now I'm running a jewelry business still 2 years later.
Yes, yes.
So it's not that easy because my career is my baby, right? I really love my career and everything that it entails, and I didn't know, as fun as and as much as I enjoy jewelry, like I was not prepared for what comes with running a business, right? I help run a business during the day, right? I help run a nonprofit organization. It's not mine, but I help run it. So to actually have something that's yours, I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
It's scary, right?
And now like it's overwhelmed as it gets. I'm like, Angela, you're here, girl. Like you're here. Let's just keep going and figure this out.
I love how you incorporate culture, your culture, our culture into your
Yeah.
pieces. So I want you to talk a little bit about that and
Yeah.
how that's such a focal point of a lot of. I love your pieces, and just tell folks about that.
Yeah, I mean, when Ariance first launched, so my family's from the Dominican Republic, and I think a big part of me is my culture, right? So if I wanted to create a jewelry line, it has to be a reflection of me, right? Being Afro Latina is me. So that's why a lot of the pieces reflect obviously like my African descent, but also like my Dominicanness, right? So I have a lot, like I'm wearing a Dominican chain right now that I created in honor of Dominican Republic, but my culture is me. So you're going to see a lot of that in the pieces that I make and the names that I choose for the pieces. So representation is really important to me when it comes to my culture.
When you work, while you're working on your line, and while you were developing it, and still are, how did you, when you looked at other women who were doing pieces and doing jewelry, did you see a lot that looked like us, or did you realize like,
Well, no, because a lot of the designers don't look like us, right? A lot of like the famous jewelry designers, like, a very popular one is like Lauren Schwartz. Like, no, like she's white, right? And even when I started doing like marketing events and vending events, I would go to these events, and there would be no other designer, like jewelry designer of color. It would just be all non-Black woman. And I'm just like, okay, either I'm signing up for the wrong events or there's actually something wrong with the market. And that became a little discouraging because I'm just like, okay, are Black people just not designing jewelry? Are they feeling discouraged? Like, what's going on? And for a while I was doubting myself, like, just like, even if I should continue with this business, because I wasn't seeing a lot of people that look like me, right? And then I started doing more research and I'm like, wait a minute. I met a bunch of designers at different events that are of color. Like one of my go-to ladies is Laureen West. I don't know if you follow her, but she's this amazing metalsmith, Black woman. You don't see a lot of designers that mess with fire, get their hands dirty, that are of color. So that was really important to me. So now I strictly only do events where it's curated for people of color, right? If I notice that the promoters or there's no other vendor of color, I really think twice before participating because I want to be where people look like me. Mm-hmm.
And so now when you've been in these rooms, and what has fashion taught you, I guess, about designers of color?
Oh, so I mean, it varies, right? I think one of the things that you don't see often in these rooms is support, right? I think there's a sense of, I don't know, I don't want to say it's a deficit, but I feel like when you're in a space with other creators of color or the designers of color, there's like an unspoken word of support that you don't get in spaces where folks don't look like you, right? Especially Black women. I feel like whenever, for example, I've met other designers, like up and coming designers of color, and I'm not that type of person where if you're making jewelry, I'm not going to talk to you. No, take my email address, right? How do you budget? How do you create your marketing techniques? Like share ideas. Like I want to be in a space where it's collaborative. And I feel like in non-spaces like that, it's not collaborative at all. It's so competitive. And I really try to, it's hard to think like that when you're not in a space of color. And I really, really try not to be that way, but it's really hard. It's extremely hard.
It's almost as if they don't want to help you. Like, what's the point? Like,
No, no, at all. No,
That's crazy. So in that same line, what do you think, or how do you think women of color, Black Latinas, are viewed in fashion? Do you think you're taken seriously as a designer, or it's like, what does she know?
I mean, that is actually a space I'm still trying to navigate because I really try to be optimistic in a lot of these spaces, but I know my skin speaks for itself, right? And it's really hard. It's really hard to think otherwise, right? I love being in spaces with other creators of color, but I know that the world doesn't always view it that way, right? They have their own interpretations, and it sucks because even though I'm a jewelry designer, mental health is my thing during the day, and I really try not to let it affect me, right? But it's hard, especially during these times that we're home. It's been really difficult.
Do you feel like almost like there's a lack of respect for the quality of work and what you do?
Absolutely. There is a disrespect, and there's also a lot of Black people are known to create things and have their ideas stolen all the time. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm always weary of that. You know what I mean? When I make pieces, I'm like, it's almost like you want to protect it and you don't want to put it out there because you don't want your ideas to be stolen. But it's just like, you can't walk around the world thinking that. Like, you just have to put your work out there, and those who would respect it are going to respect it.
I think that even though, obviously I'm not in jewelry and none of the women here are, but we're all run businesses, and we know that the important thing is not losing focus or not losing hope, because you can't allow those spaces to deter you. Even though there are times, I know for myself, there was times that I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not going to work for me. I think you need the moment to, like you said, the support of your friends, those who support you, those who gravitate to your business, to really help when you're feeling low or you're feeling down, because it's not an easy, no elevation in any field is easy when you're a woman of color. That's just the reality of things.
Absolutely. And I think COVID
it gets slimmer as we go up the corporate ladder.
It does. And COVID has really shed light on how creative you have to be with your business, right? Not just in jewelry, but just like I have a small business period. Like what if COVID really affected me and my business, because I had so many things lined up for 2020. And when COVID hit, felt so discouraged. I was just like, what am I going to do? I am a new business. What, like, how do I increase online sales? It became really difficult. And I struggled with that for a really long time. And I feel like any creator, they were just trying to, where does creativity exist during the middle of a pandemic, and, trying to survive and adaptivity. Like, yes, I have a small business. And so what I did, I reached out to other small businesses, like, how are you guys doing? As people I vended before, like, what are you doing differently? Share ideas, because it's been hard, like, to try to be like with any business during this time. Like, how do you do things differently when you've been running your business a certain way all this time?
What's like a major highlight for you? Like, what has been something that in your jewelry, whether it was maybe someone wore it or you got a certain request, what was a highlight for you that really gave you some reassurance, like, oh my God, this is so dope?
I got my jewelry in a store, right? I'm an online business. I'm here in Brooklyn. And there was a store in Philly that was curated specifically for women of color called the Sable Collective. And we negotiated, and they started featuring some of my pieces at their store. And that was a huge deal for me, because, when you have a business and this is something that you invest your time to, how the public views it is important, you know what I mean? And having it at an actual store was just like, wow, like this is what I work hard for, this is what I work towards. And that was really nice to see. That not only they trusted me, they trusted my products, and so that was a huge highlight for last year. So to this day, even though they lost their store, they were actually the first business of color in this mall in Philly. But when COVID hit, they're strictly online, but they still carry my pieces. So that was really nice. So that's my goal. Is even though I don't have an online store, I really want to have my products in stores, physical stores.
Have you ever had any like special requests that you loved, that you really just...
Yeah. So this girl reached out to me. One of my followers is getting married, and she reached out to me to help her make like a custom crown. And I was just like, absolutely not. I was just like, custom what? And I was just like, a crown. I was like, I'm not that good. I'm like, you sure? And she was like, yes, please. I have your pieces. And I was just like, all right, if it doesn't come out how you want it. And then I sat there, we designed it together, worked on the final piece. And I was just like, oh my God, I did this. So she wore the crown on her wedding day. We made custom earrings to match. And she was in love. And I was just like, oh my God, Angela, you just opened up another door for yourself that I don't even think you're ready for. And so that was a really nice experience that she trusted me with that, because I was so nervous. I had no idea what I was doing. And I just took my time and brought a bunch of materials and torches, and we got it together.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Even though obviously we're in COVID, but would you ever consider like having your pieces, like you said, you're from Dominican Republic, would you ever have your pieces in your country, in places that other Afro-Latinas and Black Latinas would definitely gravitate to, because
absolutely, that would be dope. I mean, I get a lot of pieces from DR whenever I go at least once a year. So I always bring back stones to make to feature pieces here. But yeah, I mean, if I could get my stuff over there, that would be awesome. I mean, obviously my goal is the States first, because I'm still growing. But as I go to visit, I'll visit different establishments, especially boutiques, and see what doors open that way. But that'll be awesome.
Where do you see, like, what does Angela see for herself, for her brand, for your jewelry in the
I'm still figuring it out. I'm a clinical social worker during the day. So I'm always trying to find the balance of it all, having a full-time career and then having a jewelry business. I mean, eventually my goal honestly would be to do some type of, I don't know if you've heard of music therapy, but I want to have some type of jewelry therapy where we focus on the art of making things and how does that calm one's anxiety, how does that calm one depressions by focusing on an object and releasing all of your energy into it. So I think that's the goal that I see eventually in the future with it.
I love that. There's no mistake that you the work that you do in your day job and your business, they kind of can definitely go together. There's no mistake in that.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Do you see yourself expanding, say, for children or for men, or your focal point is Afro Latinas, Black Latinas, women of color?
No, definitely men. So I am currently working on a men's line that I should be releasing during Valentine's week. And children, I get a lot of requests for children, but men first. Yeah, a lot of women are interested in getting pieces for their partners. So once I conquer the men, then I'll transition into the children's section.
I love that. I love that. Do you would you always be like, do you see yourself being in the major stores like say Macy's and JCPenney's, or would you only want to be a boutique in the sense of it's kind of has this exclusivity to it?
Honestly, wherever I'm not exploited, right? I think I want to be true to my roots, right? I think Macy's is very saturated with specific designers and none of color. So I definitely want to be in a space where I still have creative rights, like none of that is taken away from me. So whether it's Macy's or other places like that, that's fine. But as long as I'm still the face behind the name and I own all the creative rights to it, that's all that matters.
That's right, girl. I hear that.
Yeah. You can be out here working this hard to have someone else, try to control what you do.
That's it. Absolutely. Ladies, do you have any questions or comments for Angela?
Can I get a custom Cuban piece, please?
I got you.
Where do I place my order?
Yeah, ariancejewelry.com, Ariance Jewelry on IG. Message me, email me. You have my email too, ariancejewelry@gmail.com.
I am ordering.
And we'll work on customizing something together.
I love it. I just really want to commend you because it's interesting to hear your perspective of going into a space where you weren't seeing women who look like you. I obviously have the gift of like the Mara Brocca-Kills, Yvette Lee Bowsers that were ahead of me and like the television world. Really, unless I'm missing someone, and if I am, please forgive me out there, but no Afro-Latino women, which is very interesting to me because it's a weird spot where it's like, I think the Writers Guild doesn't know whether to put me in the Black group or the Latina group. And I'm like, I'm of both. Like, this is just what this is. I'll go to both meetings, okay? But I just commend you because you're saying this was a space where there were none. Like here you are forging through this whole thing as one of the very first and the very few. And I just think that's so important and just commend you on it and I hope that you realize there's somebody younger than you that's going to watch and go, wow, like I can do this now because I saw her do it. One of the biggest things I kept saying is if I could see somebody do this, I can do this. Let me just see somebody. Let me go to the set and watch a woman do it. And I bet I can get it. So I just think that's so important. And I just really, really commend you for that.
Thank you. No, that's important. Thank you for that. And, it's I try not to let it bother me a lot. But this, the jewelry market is a huge market, right? It's especially during COVID, so many businesses emerged during this time because people were really trying to figure out a way to survive. So I'm sure now there's probably other jewelry folks out there that are following their heart to become jewelry designers, which is great. But I think, nonetheless, like, I got to keep doing this, right? And motivate others who want to pursue a similar dream.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nick, I saw you unmuted yourself and then.
Oh no, I just wanted to say that I'm just proud of everyone on this panel, and I just also wanted to add, like, just believe in yourself and your craft. You did sound a little discouraged in the beginning when you started talking about your other career and your jewelry line, but I think you're a beautiful person with a beautiful spirit, and just keep working on bettering yourself, and then it pours into, what you're doing. You are amazing. All of you are. You see Sandra, and I can't see Shirley's face, but I can hear her spirit. And that's what type of person I am. I'm a connector. None of us know each other, but I feel good about all of you. And I'm so excited to see what all God has in store for you and your career and everything else that's happening in your life.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. That's amazing. Thank you.
For sure, like Angela, I know I can speak for the other panelists when I say that, when you first start out in any industry, it's always gonna be rough. You're always gonna have these ups and downs. You're always gonna have, that's when self-doubt comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, am I even doing the right? Am I in the right place? Am I doing the right? But my biggest thing for me, I've questioned myself 1,000 times, and I've been in this space for 13 years as doing something that I didn't see no one else doing. There are no Afro Latinas on Broadway. There were no Afro Latinas in film and web series, and it just did not exist when I started 13 years ago. And if they did, they had to pick a side. I remember reading an article from Lance Alonso where he said he just said he was Black because being Cuban and being mixed, it didn't work for him. And not because he was embarrassed, because he never was, but because that box, they made you pick one. You had to pick one in order to succeed and pay your bills. This is all about paying bills too. This is a career. This is something you need to do. And it just didn't sit right with me to have to do that. But let me tell you, when we would have auditions or we would have shows and there'd be like 2 people in the audience, and it's like, I'm gonna perform for 2 people. Like, my heart is on the stage and I'm dying. And it's like, but I promise you, like Nick says, because this is a big thing that Nick advocates, and I've followed her for a long time, so I know this. If it feels good to your soul, you keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels so good, and then you grow and you keep going, and it goes from 2 people to 10 people to 50 people, and then you can, and it's a very rewarding job. It is a very rewarding. When you do what you love, the money comes later.
Yeah.
But if you do what feels good to your soul, it is amazing. And then when you have kids, they will humble the crap out of you. Because I told this to Ranada. I performed at the Smithsonian thinking I was like the one. And when I came home, it was like, well, what we eating for dinner? It's like, I just performed at one of the biggest places in the world, and you want me to cook? So life, it's an amazing journey as a woman of color. You keep it going, you keep it pushing. There's gonna be naysayers. There's gonna be times that you question if this is right, but keep it. If it feels good to your soul, that's all you got to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Crystal. Amen to that. And I'm one of those people who were in your audience back in for Afro Latina the play. And I dragged my friend. We were doing a cultural tour, and we came, I came in from Boston. She came in from Philly. We went to see you, did a whole cultural weekend based off of your play. And I just tell you, and I followed you ever since. And that, on Facebook, and then when you got to Insta, so
oh, that's a long time. You maybe like 2012.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I saw. In fact, I just found the playbill, and I was, in honest, serious. I was trying to declutter. I didn't, but Angela, And I can say it as an author and writing, and like, when you have a dream, dreams don't have an expiration date. And our new president is a testament to that, because he first got in the Senate, he wasn't even yet 30 years old. He had 2 failed things for president. And at 78, he's now the president, And it's finding the people in the networks of sister friends who will be able to cheer you on. And you do, even because I do have a couple who keep me grounded, who are like, because I dream big, bodacious ideas always. So if you ever want somebody to dream a big, bodacious idea, call me. Send me a direct message me. I'm fine with that. But I do have people who kind of pull me back a little and just to check in with me, to just, is this what you want to do? And sometimes I'm confident, I'm like, yes. And they're cool with that. But as long as you know in your spirit, and as Nick said, know it in that knowing here, that's in the center of your being, that this is your calling. I love, the universe, there is no accidents, because I was just talking about with my sister that I was looking for crowns. And on Facebook, it says, when you go on Facebook, never go and look for something, because all of a sudden your Facebook, all the ads get crowns. They're everywhere. And now there's you. And, so I would love to, I've always, because I want a crown. So especially when I'm doing some children's work, and, for when we are non in COVID and I'm walking a red carpet for something that I will get an award for someday, you will have designed that piece. So, from one Afro-Latina sister to another, go.
Thank you. Oh, that is so beautiful, Sandra. That is right. Oh, thank you. That is so beautiful. And listen, you are going to be on that red carpet with a piece of mine on your head.
We're gonna be like, yes, Sandra. Yes, we see you, girl.
Yeah.
With your crown on. Yes, you spoke that too. You spoke, and I believed it. So I can't wait to see it. All right. Let God ordain our steps.
Where can we find your beautiful pieces? How can people follow you? And obviously, when we put the video, I will definitely put all of your information there as well.
Crystal, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
A little, yeah.
A little.
No, I was saying that, Angela, let us know where we could follow all of your information. And then when I do post the video, I will put everyone's information in that as well. So once people start to watch it, they can also know where to follow you and to find your pieces.
Yeah. So you could find my online store, which is www.ariancejewelry.com, on IG, Ariance Jewelry, Facebook, Ariance Jewelry, and my email is ariancejewelry@gmail.com. Yes. Send me a message, say hi, say what's up.
Anyone else have any last comments, remarks, questions?
Yeah, the ladies could share their contact information as well. I don't think they shared it. Where could we find them? How do we get to Nicole's backyard?
Right. It's so funny y'all keep saying Nicole. Quick story, nobody calls me by my government name. My mom birthed me, gave me that name, and she calls me Nick. So when I hear Nicole, it's like I don't even react, because I'm not used to hearing it. Nobody in my family calls me Nicole. Nobody, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, no one called me Nicole. But you can find me at yep, I go by Nick, or my friends call me Nick Nack. When I was in my 20s, I used to say, I'm going to change my name on my ID. My first name, Nick, my last name, Knack. Because I was so used to hearing it. But it's like, grow up, Nicole. Your name is Nicole. But you can find me at I am NIC and a B on Instagram. I'm currently working on my website because I'm creating affirmation apparel. I right now would probably have on a hat that says powerful, a t-shirt that says powerful, because it makes me feel good when I read powerful words. I am an affirmation girl. I speak affirmations every day. I start my day off with meditation, first prayer, meditation, affirmations. And that's how people are like, oh, but do you exercise? Not every day. That's not what I want to do. Some days I just need to sit my butt down and get centered and grounded. It's not always a workout day. Because I can go work out and still be angry. And it's like taking my frustration out on other people. They smiling at me. I'm like, what you looking at? I'm in a mood, you know? So sometimes I gotta get myself together before I can even go exercise. It's cool, but that's people when they see me, they're like, oh, you're a trainer. How many times do you exercise? 5 times a day? I'm like, no, I don't. Maybe 3 times out of the week, if that.
Mm.
Other days I'm exercising my mental.
Yeah.
You got to do that too. But that's how you can find me. And then I'll be putting up my website soon. And I'm focusing on selling apparel, my shirts and my hats and other things in the future. But God is like, if you don't press play on the plans that I have for you, I'm going to give it to somebody else. So I'm working right now.
I heard that. I am at Ranada Shepard on Instagram. Every now and again, I blow the dust off of Twitter. It is not my go-to. I just go, oh my God, I haven't tweeted in a long time. I should probably tweet something. And all I do is get there and retweet something. Because when you write all day long, well, I can't say that. My writer friends and my husband, they love to tweet. I personally just need the break. So I think I'm Ranada Shepard on Twitter, maybe Ranada C. Shepard. I don't even know in real life. So best way to find me is Ranada Shepard on the gram. Pretty much that's it. And then, you know, shows will be coming out. 2nd season of Diary of a Future President should be launching soon. We just finished production on that. And Selenice, the actress, you guys know her from Orange is the New Black. She's the mom on Diary. Just to write her words as an Afro-Latina mom, to put all of our craziness in her mouth was so much fun. She was my favorite character of the series. And just to hear her do it at the table read, I'm so excited to see what the end product is. So that was really special for me. Really, really special. And I have to say, giving a special shout out, I'm going to go back a little bit, sorry, to Alana Pina. I don't know if you guys watched 1st season of Diary of a Future President, but the main character is growing her little her Afro-Latina mustache. She needs to go get it waxed. And I was so excited that the woman who waxed her was a dark brown woman and she started speaking Spanish. And I was like, oh my God, like you get it. Like it doesn't just come one way, one shade. Like this was really groundbreaking. And so she's been really, really powerful and pushing along. That was the first production I've been in where there were Latina assistants, Latina PAs, Latina, like all crew level. She really made a push to make sure people were of Latin culture. And I had never seen that before in my life. So I'm just so proud of her and what she's doing. So hats off to you, Alana. And so you'll see me there. You'll see my writing there. And then the show I'm working on now, it's animation and it takes 2 years. So in 2022, I believe, like October 2022, you'll see my work on HBO Max for Young Love. And my husband and I are in the process of developing a pilot produced by 50 Cent and Mary J. Blige at ABC right now. So we're really excited about that. It's kind of like a modern day Black Partridge Family. It's gonna be really special. Happy to be doing it with him. Happy we're at this part in our marriage where we can do this and not kill each other. And hopefully there'll be more stuff coming for you guys to see.
Congratulations.
Wow,
That
I
was
know.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
These steps were ordered. I just get up and do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Crystal. Mm-mm.
Hold
Oh,
on. Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
So what I was saying was you ladies are definitely an inspiration to myself, to everyone who watches this. Hence why I wanted to connect with you all. You're phenomenal women doing phenomenal things. We're not perfect as women, but I think what you guys do and how you do it makes it perfect because you're just authentically you. And I think that that's what gravitated me to you all. And I know that's what everyone will love about watching you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of our first summit for 2021. And as always, my tagline is the movement keeps on moving. I didn't even know, Sandra, I didn't even know that you had seen a show 1,000 years ago, but this goes to that. Thank you so much for continuing to follow us. www.blacktinamovement.com for everything we have coming up and our shows and virtual events and things of that nature. Follow these amazing, talented, wonderful Black women that continue to inspire us all and push forward. Thank you so much for being a part of the world of mompreneurs and Black Latinas in fashion.
Hey, Crystal.
Yes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I just have to tell you, my name is Anna. My cousin Clara told me about this summit, and I was like running around all day, and I'm like, something nudged me to be like, oh my God, I forgot about the summit. It was today. So I joined, and I heard the last 10 minutes, and I was quiet. I was just being inspired by you all, so I followed all your pages. My name is Anna.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
As you were saying your IGs, I went on IG and followed you. My IG is lovemy.brownskin. So it was just something in me. I wrote down, I forgot, I think it was Nick that said prayer, meditation, affirmation. And I wrote that down because I'm like, you know what? That's a good way to start the day. So it was, I know I missed the whole thing. I feel horrible. Hopefully there's a recording that I can access, but I feel like these last 10 minutes were like important to me, something that I needed to say. So thank you for that. And I don't know if you can see my face. I didn't even set up the video properly, but I just wanted to say thank you.
No, thank you for joining. And we did record it. So once we edit it, then we'll definitely will post it on IG and YouTube so everyone can watch it, because we know there were certain people who weren't able to make it. But thank you so much for joining, Anna. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Oh, we see your beautiful face now. We see you, girl.
Okay.
You looking all comfy.
Right?
Yes, I got my little hoodie on. Beautiful Black women. I love to see it. I'm Dominican. It's so great to have a community. So I thank you. I'll be on everyone. Thank you so much.
That's so awesome.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies, enjoy your weekend. Just because we're in COVID doesn't mean that we quarantined, we can't enjoy it. Nick, I need to see pictures of the food.
Oh, I got you, girl. I got you.
Let's continue to support each other and let's do our things as beautiful Black women as we always do.
Amen.
Thank you.
Love and light, queen.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.